man in a trench coat in the dark. A woman's lost a kid sleeping in the park. Rag suits, daggers, Park Avenue. Everybody wants to talk to you about just some BS of there. Just some BS. Just some BS of yours. Just some BS. Just some BS, yeah. Just some BS, yeah. Just some BS of ours.
It's a much more, and you still get the attachment. Fine, you don't get your genetic splooge in them, but you know, if you
don't know if I want my genetic markers going out into the world.
And if you do, go to Alabama, where that's a thing. Cletus will tell us all about it.
And again, Cletus is going to be sending us an angry email about how he doesn't fuck his sister or his animals.
But we haven't started recording yet, so this is all off the record.
Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Just Some BS podcast. I am your host along this wild and crazy journey of the American Nick, joined as always by, well, I call him my friend, but at this point he's more my associate. A guy I once worked with, a former co-worker, I guess you could say. The beer doctor himself, Radovan. Beer doctor, how goes it?
The theme of this week is deportation and deportees.
Why? Because we're both in that same boat?
Yeah. I don't mind you being in that boat as an associate, but also this week we're getting sued by Bob Dylan and Joan Baez.
Yeah, well, Baez is dead, right? And Dylan doesn't.
No, she's not! Oh. She's alive! She has a tour right. Jesus! If it was up to you, you'd just be you and Lily left on the planet.
And maybe a pretty girl every now and then.
Oh, thank you.
Not you. No, it's we live in a well, you'll be deported. I might actually be able to get my British passport. But I'll visit you in Slovakia or wherever Sweden or.
Oh no! Well, you know, I've got
Mexico.
I've got several offers of marriage so far, so hopefully one of them will catch.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. When it comes down to it, you can't really marry into that side of the family because, well, Christmas dinners, and they don't even like you. The app girlfriend, his family doesn't like you. Come on now.
Yeah, but
you're far too left-leaning for that family.
I honestly think that family is kind of a condensed version of the Mitford sisters. Have you heard of the Mitford sisters?
No. What is the Mitford sisters?
Mitford sisters, they're sort of a long line of inbred aristocratic families.
Stop there. She doesn't listen to this, does she?
No.
Good.
God, then continue. The Mitfords might though. But basically, it's one of those sort of landed gentry, old English families, and lots of inbreeding.
Okay.
And there was a thing during the 30s and the early 40s where can I? No. Hitler in a box, stay in your box.
Yes.
But there was a time when he wasn't in a box.
Yes.
And he was making lots of trouble around the world. He's being a naughty boy.
Yes.
Running through wheat fields of Poland with tanks. So Mitfords, they had lots of children, and one of them became Hitler's girlfriend. And another one became obsessed with him to the point where when she was rejected, she shot herself. And then the one that used to be his girlfriend then married, if I remember correctly, Edward Mosley, who, if you remember, was the leader of the Black Shirts, which was a part fashionista movement and a part fascist movement.
Yeah.
It's kind of... Yeah, they got kind of confused. Half of the people there were for the catwalks, the other were there for the sort of, racial purity. It kind of just got meddled. So, you had style and racism. And there was another Mitford sister that became an author, and there was another Mitford sister that became an anarchist. Anarcho-communist. So it was quite an ideologically diverse family. So I feel sort of, that family, the app girlfriend family, has got the, right-wing extremism in there, has got the arts, has got the left-wing extremism in there. It's just,
And somehow in all of this, you're the Hitler boyfriend?
No. I take notes.
Someday you'll write a book.
No.
Since we last met, one of these times I'd like to record the podcast and have nothing happen. It'd be really great if, the world was just boring for a little while.
I know what you mean, because since last we met, there was at work, because as much as we earn from this, I like to have a little bit of extra income. I don't want to just sit idle all week and just wait for the millions to roll in with the podcast. I like to keep busy. So
Patreon.com/justsomebspod.
So I go to a job. Just, to keep my touch with the common man,
yeah.
When we're not in our Brixton mansions.
Yes.
We had a minute of silence. And I genuinely stopped working and was silent for a minute. Not, of course, I'm going to say it's out of the respect for victims, etc., but those who listen, know that...
Do you have no heart?
No, it's not that, but I'm not one for ostentatious statements. But I genuinely sat silent, in a reflective mood, wondering which one of them is it for? Which of all those events? Because they didn't say it's just please stand up and have a minute's silence. They're like, yeah, but for what? Not because there isn't a reason. There's too many reasons, and I genuinely I stood there, sat there thinking, what are we? Is it Manchester? Is it
London? Is it Finsbury? Is it Grenfell?
Yeah, is it Tower? Yeah, is it? I don't know.
Scalise?
The what?
The shooting, the GOP shooting in the U.S.
Oh, we're not going to have a minute's silence. I think that is anyone really angry, be disappointed with.
We'll get to that a little bit later.
It's it's a bit like there's a political, there's a side that is popular.
Mm-hmm.
We had Jeremy Corbyn at Glastonbury speaking yesterday.
Yep.
I don't know if you caught that. Jeremy Corbyn. You might have read about him in the New Testament. So he was...
he is the second coming of Christ.
Frankly, judging by his grey hair, etc., I think
Moses?
Christ kind of never really left and just sort of...
hung out?
Stuck around, worked at a petrol station and saw his opportunity now, so he kind of...
became friends with the IRA and the Israelis?
Well, okay, fine, right? So you get crucified. And you get taken to your tomb.
Yeah.
And you get taken to a cave. The boulder is... you get taken to your tomb, the boulder is pushed, etc. And you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wake up.
Yeah. And
you go, shit, I'm not dead. That's awesome. And then you sort of push the boulder away and go out and, you have to physically restrain yourself from not sort of twisting your own nipples as you walk into the room where all your buddies are gathering and you go, what up, homies, and see all those faces. And what do? You've just been resurrected and everyone thinks it's a miracle, etc. You just order the biggest bulk order of acid this side of the Mediterranean, and you just get really high. You go tripping.
Okay. Get
right?
really into the 70s.
Yeah. And you do that for a while, and after it is all over, you kind of wake up in a bush.
That's burning.
Someone else's underwear around your ankles. Your toga is flailing from a treetop. Lots of beer bottles. And a bit dirty. You feel a bit itchy in places.
End up in Margate.
And you kind of go, oh, shit, what have I been up to? So anyway, you try to stand up, but you're still very hungover, so you lie down, sleep for a few more hours, and finally assemble yourself, and you go, all right, I'm going to go back to the village. But as you enter it, you hear all this talk about, oh, Jesus, he went up to heaven. Oh, Jesus, he went to see God, he's our saviour, etc. And you go, whoa, what the fuck did we get up to? And so you start sort of, you hide in the bushes and over here, and everyone else was so high, they genuinely think that you were ascended up to heaven. And you have like the best reputation ever. For millennia. Everyone is going to think you're the son of God. And that you went up to heaven. So what are you going to do? Are you going to destroy your own reputation? Or are you going to keep a low profile and go, well, I'll just wait until everyone's dead. And then I'll come back. Right? And I'll merge it as nothing has happened. So that's what he's been doing. But he, those biblical people like, Methuselah, he lived, thousands of years, so you can never be sure. So I think he was biding his time, waited until he was sure they're dead, one way or the other. I mean, he got his hands a bit dirty, etc. Biblical times, different morals, etc. And he's now come back.
And he's hanging out in Glastonbury.
And he's had a speech in Glastonbury yesterday. But which was, it was a very youth-oriented speech. Mm-hmm. But he has had, apparently, the biggest audience out of any Glastonbury headliner ever. So he's had more people see him talk than Springsteen, than Radiohead, than Beyonce, than Paul McCartney. I mean, that's frightening on one hand. That's also impressive.
When it comes down to it, he did speak to that generation, and the campaign that he ran appealed to the youth. It was the first time in a while. I mean, Macron did it in France. Trudeau's kind of done it in Canada, but he spoke to the large percentage of immigrants that live in this country, B, the non-white British, and C, just the youth in general. He did. He appealed to them because he spoke about things that they cared about. He wasn't speaking about... No, so he was able to appeal to that demographic that, for the most part, has been... Their voice has been exposed.
Yeah, and I can see that. And I've heard the criticism that he's essentially bribed young people, where there's talk of no tuition fees, etc. Which, okay, I see that, but you could also argue that it's realigning who gets the handouts, so to speak. Frankly, the older generation, which voted, I think it was up to 50 years of age, the demographic generally voted Labour. Mm-hmm. Above 50, they generally voted Conservative. One could argue that, partly the reason why they lost their election is that the Conservatives wanted to stop essentially the handouts to pensioners, which is a cliche, but frankly the triple lock pension means that pensioners remain pretty much the only group in the United Kingdom unaffected by austerity, unaffected by the recession.
Yep.
So it's kind of realigning that. Well, if they're getting a handout, then perhaps younger people should get a handout. Well, not really a handout. It's, free education. Is that such a horrible concept?
No, actually, it's a good thing because we're living in a society that we need to have educated individuals in order to do specific jobs. If you don't have those homegrown, educated individuals, you have to, in turn, bring them in from other places that do care about education, that do push education, and that do create an environment that learning is important. Even Trump now has backed off of his banned from certain countries because when he had his tech meetings, all the tech people said, we don't have fucking people to fill these jobs. We'll leave. And when the most powerful, well, okay, our new god Amazon, it used to be Google, and now Amazon is our new god because they're buying fucking everything now. When our new god Amazon says that we need to be able to have people come in because I need people to be able to do these jobs, the president and chief liar goes, yeah, okay, I understand. Which, I mean, hey, it's nice to know that the employee sometimes does what the employer tells them to do. We're going to get into the whole thing. Speaking of Glastonbury, though, did you hear anybody else's speech?
Oh, at Glastonbury?
No. Television star Johnny Depp from such hits as 21 Jump Street.
Chocolat.
Perfume?
Was he in Perfume?
Yes. And he made it very clear. He's not an actor. He said it in his speech. He says, I'm a professional liar. Which, in a way, was probably the best way to say what he said. Because he prefaces it by saying, everything I say is a lie. Because he says, I'm a professional liar. And then he asked when the last time an actor killed a sitting president, i.e. Lincoln got shot by a famous actor. Maybe another actor should do it. He never says it's him. Everything that he says, no matter how supposedly heroined up he might be, or how supposedly coked up he might be, or how supposedly drugged up he was, everything that he says from a legal standpoint is fine. Because he doesn't say, I'm going to kill the president. He doesn't...
well, I mean, kind of, you know, it's not a particularly... Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly, regardless of, you know, who does it, and I don't think it's a particular side. If you're calling for someone to get killed just because they disagree with you, you're not left or right or up or down. You're just a bit of a twat.
Totally understandable.
And this whole, you know, well, from a legal standpoint, this is what frustrated me, you know, about...
Just go with it.
You know, talking about that, you know, Jihadi Next Door documentary, where, you know, they asked the guy, do you support ISIS, which is illegal in the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm not going to answer that because I'll get into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Which is yes. And the same thing, you know, when Depp goes, oh, I'm a professional liar. I mean, frankly, see, at this point, I'd go back to, you know, common law rather than statutory law, where it's trial by common sense. Because that's just pathetic if that's your get out clause. Oh, I technically said I'm a professional liar before I called for, you know, Donald Trump to be shot by an actor.
Well, look, the New York Times posted an op-ed piece yesterday that fact checks every single lie that President Chump has said since the beginning of the year. And it's Google. You can Google each of his tweets that have been fact checked and proved to be a lie. And it's I'll include it in the show notes, but it's a fantastic look at complete and utter chaos, because you read through it and you realize that, similar to the children that we spoke about earlier when you said, oh, when I was getting my driver's license, children live in a fantasy world. Trump truly lives in a fantasy world. He just does. He lives in this world where he thinks that anything that he says is absolutely true and factual because he said it. You're fascinated by her destruction, huh?
I just something's up with her. This is randomly.
She's just bored.
Randomly destroying things.
Yeah, she's very bored today.
Maybe Trump is bored.
It could be. So he's
Maybe
just trying to destroy.
Maybe he just needs a toy or some attention. Just to explain it, I mean, if this ends up in the Nick's dog, Lillian, it's just destroying everything.
Not everything. She's destroying her toys.
She's destroying her toys, which are meant to pacify her, but they seem
Well, the destruction of them is what pacifies her. And it looks like it snowed. And the sense of accomplishment that she has upon destruction.
That seems to have calmed her down a little bit.
Yeah, it tends to get her to a happy place. So we could get into the shooting that took place in Virginia. It's been beat like a dead horse. A left-wing extremist, as he's been categorized as, decided to go to a baseball practice and shoot at a bunch of Republicans, all of which have constantly and on numerous occasions voted for individuals with mental issues to be able to own firearms. You reap what you sow kind of thing when it comes to that.
Well, did the chap have... Oh, chapette?
Chap.
Did he have a history of mental illness?
They're saying that he quite possibly did. They're going through his records now. I mean...
See, this is what I like, so when the Finsbury Park thing happened, for those who don't know, a gentleman from Wales thought he was so upset by the idea of Islamic extremists renting a van and smashing it into people, and he was outraged by it, as many of us were. It's just many of us were outraged by it because it's not a very nice thing to do. He was outraged by it because he didn't get in on the action. Which is kind of a...
jealousy.
Different... perhaps it's a lesson to learn. If someone tells you I'm outraged by that terrorist attack, maybe follow it up with why. Just in case the person says, "Oh, I wanted to do that." So this chap thought that, and in all fairness, okay, let's take it from an alternative. Let's take it from his fantasy world.
Okay,
child. He goes in, he sees this, and he goes, "Oh, there's so much racial hatred in the world, and ideological and religious hatred. You know what? Like with a child, they do something wrong, so you take their toy away, or you send Lily to play with them when she's feeling restless.
Yeah.
So he thought, okay, well maybe if I explain how it feels to them, they'll understand and they'll stop being so mean to us.
Okay.
And he somehow conflated the people he was targeting, i.e. Islamic terrorists, predominantly based in Syria, and some of them preaching mean things over here, and generally not in a mosque setting because they would be excluded from the mosque. He kind of got confused and thought that everyone who goes to a mosque is an Islamic terrorist, which if that were the case, I don't think we'd have a country. Same way that if everyone believed that every Christian is a crusader, we'd also wouldn't have much of a world. So he thought, right, if I explain to them how we feel, then they'll understand it. So he rents a van, and he smashes into a group of worshippers who are just leaving their evening prayer after breaking the Ramadan fast, and he kills one of them and injures several others. And the Muslim community, because they're all Islamic terrorists, they go, "Oh, this isn't very nice." And they all come out the next morning and shake hands with everyone and says, "We're really, really sorry. Didn't quite understand. I mean, shall we go for a pint?" And everyone says, "Yeah, let's go for it. But let's not work today because it's peace. We finally resolved all our religious and racial differences and ideological differences, and it's going to be a much better world from now." And that's what happened in the parallel universe.
I was going to say, I don't recall this.
Yeah,
but okay.
Yeah, that's what happened in the parallel universe.
The one that gives all the money on Patreon.
They went for a morning drink and they all sort of rented a Wembley Stadium and listened to the live broadcast of our podcast.
Oh, yes.
But in this universe, the guy was a dick. And he murdered an innocent person.
For no reason.
For no reason, because he wanted to... In Finsbury Park, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, the pride of London, of what London is about, a completely mixed area where everyone just enjoys and gets on together. And I go to Finsbury. I go to Finsbury Park quite often. I was near there when like half an hour before it happened, and I go there quite a lot. And I go to places that shisha bars, etc. And it's a wonderful mix of people there. To think you can drive a wedge in that community is just fucking insane. But what I liked most about it, and the guy was in prison, and surprisingly, British media all called it a terrorist attack immediately. It's a big change of rhetoric.
Yes.
But my favourite bit is when this always happens and they name the person, and immediately the media vans descend onto the neighbourhood and start talking to the neighbours and.
Getting a feel for who this person is.
Yeah, and all the neighbours says, "Oh no, he was such a nice guy. I never would have expected something of him." So they ask one of his neighbours, like, "Oh yeah, the guy was always a complete cunt."
That was fantastic. They were just like, "Yeah, I wouldn't have seen him doing this because I probably would have stopped him. But yeah, he was a fucking asshole. Like, he just was a prick. We weren't friends.
The actual words he used was a complete cunt."
Yes.
Just sorry, children, but I'm quoting someone, so it's not me saying it.
Exactly. It really did harbor back to that whole, and it's a mentality I think that as well takes place in the U.S. is. Well, they did it to us, so let's do it to them. And, okay, but there's that point in time that you reach, and as I wouldn't even say society, I would say as a species, we should have gotten to the point now where we can kind of realize that just because somebody shits on your porch doesn't mean you need to go shit on their porch for them to know it's a bad thing. Some people are just dicks,
particularly if you shit on the wrong porch. That's just going to trigger a series of porch shitting.
Exactly. Look, I'm farthest from a turn the other cheek guy when it comes to specific things. Look, you hurt my family. Whether it's Camilla, whether it's my mother, my brother, my so-called BFF that sits next to me right now. Used to be BFF, don't know. Lily, you hurt somebody like that. Yes, I'm going to be very vengeful because I'm a vengeful person because my father did always teach us family first. But it's one of those things, too,
next time.
that if something happens, I kind of look at it as in, you know what? Okay, you're just a dick, and you have your own issues to deal with. You didn't hurt me. Like, yeah, shit happened. A lot of people lost their lives. It was a scary situation. A bunch of people... I don't think we had mentioned it as well, but during the London attacks, there was one specific football fan who was drunk during the attacks as they were going through to stab who kept screaming, and I don't even know what football team he supported.
Millwall.
Yeah, and he kept saying, "I am Millwall, I am screaming it.
So the thing is, Millwall... have you seen the very accurate documentary
Eurotrip?
No, with Elijah Wood called Hooligan.
Yes, I have.
Where Elijah Wood is the fan
Chelsea.
of West Ham.
West Ham, yes.
Yeah, and the big rivalry matches they have with Millwall is
Yes.
with Millwall. And now Millwall are rightfully considered the biggest twats
Of all the hooligans?
Oh no, not just.
Just in all football.
Beyond football, they're just twats.
Okay.
That particular, they're known as that. They're very hardcore, to put it very nicely. So yeah, you don't mess with a Millwall fan. So I can quite picture a Millwall fan going, "Fuck's sake, you think this is terrorism? Let me terrorize you."
It goes all back full circle to everyone's favorite topic in the UK, Brexit.
I think we should just start having it. Have you seen the trailer for the Brexit film they're making?
No.
Let me.
Jizza, it's your PM teaser. It's been suggested that I get a deep taste of the Labour Party.
Nicholas Virgin.
I am Anglo-American.
Mr. Petit, I'm going to answer all your questions. I'm high-end faggot.
Sorry, love, I'm hoary old wife.
Sometimes men and women deal with these matters in a different way.
Come on, Gladdy.
Sausages, cars, Audi.
Don't say such things, you're getting my German Bruststraben down here.
You'll get a real taste of the opposition.
I'll tell you a bit more about it.
Are you going to tell me a bit more about this manifesto?
Please leave the room. Shall we continue this discussion somewhere more comfortable?
Undo me, darling.
A record of our time.
Oh gosh. Alright, so you've just listened to the Hard Brexxit with 3 X's official trailer from director Amory Part. Television X presents Hard Brexxit, starring Rebecca Moore, Tina Kay, Busty Cookie, Lacey Starr, Alexis May, plus many, many more. The most important political porno parody of 2017. For more information, go to www.tvxnow.com. Children, be sure to get your parents' permission before going to tvxnow.com.
Yeah, it's a perfect UK Independence Day present. Because this week was UK Independence Day, first anniversary of Brexit. Yeah, so what's been happening with the Brexit world before we move on to hopefully nice things? Maybe Nick's murderer, John Lennon. I'm desperately trying not to turn this into a rant. So we've had the kind of Theresa May went to Brussels to continue the negotiations, and as everyone agrees, the first priority is to resolve the issue of EU citizens living in the UK and UK citizens living in the EU. And that's where they're trying to make an agreement. And Theresa May, and in fact the entire Leave campaign, or most of the Leave campaign, the mainstream Leave campaign, has been saying for the past few years that, the EU people who are here, are fine. Nothing to worry about. Mm-hmm. And Theresa May has said, we're going to guarantee everybody is going to be fine. She said this as she unveiled this proposal of hers. Everyone's going to be fine. And everyone is going to be fine, provided you can prove that you've lived and continuously worked here for the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. So, and she unveiled this as her proposal. And I can hear you. I can hear you. Some of you are going to say, well, that's fair enough. And I try to see validity in people's points. But there's none in yours. You're wrong. And here's why. The whole 5-year thing, those are the current rules now. If you as an EU resident can prove that you've lived and worked here for 5 years without leaving, without not working,
yeah,
you can get a permanent right to stay. Indefinite right to remain. Those are the rules right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing new. But that's not the point, which is why a lot of people having currently there's an 85-page form you have to fill out, and it's a lot of paperwork. Theresa May said they're going to simplify it, and it costs £65 as well. Theresa May said she's going to simplify it, but that's not the point. The point is, what if you didn't come? What if you didn't work continuously throughout those 5 years? Or what if you moved away for a year and came back? Or what if you came 4 years ago? Or 3 years ago? Which was still...
Or you went back to San Diego for 6 months.
I went back to San Diego for 6 months. What's going to happen to you then?
Uh-huh.
And you can say, well, tough luck. Firstly, I acknowledge that what I'm saying can come back. It's going to come and bite me in the ass might come and bite me in the ass tomorrow because, well, they said they're going to clarify it. I assume there's going to be a lot of hasty rewriting going on this weekend because this wasn't, well...
It wasn't popular at all.
It wasn't popular at all because, in effect, it means... Look, regardless of the detail, the proposal as it is on the table, which is, 5 years of continuous living and working and... a 2-year grace period. If you came here as a member of the European Union, and Britain is still a member of the European Union, there's a certain social contract. You come here under the expectation that you come as an EU citizen. And if you come here before this whole Brexit shenanigans, everyone believed the referendum was going to be Remain. I mean, that was all the polls were showing, all the experts were, and fine, didn't turn out that way. But prior to the referendum, certainly prior to the triggering of Article 50, if you came here, there is a certain social contract, which is, I come here to build a life as UK people going to the European Union to build a life, to relocate, expecting that, you can do so. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, carpet is pulled underneath from you. And the contract wasn't that you'll have continuous residency, that you'll have continuous work. Look, even I, over the past, I've been here for 11 years. I haven't worked for most of that. I was studying, and then, I had breaks in between because I live in a boom-bust kind of way. When I boom, I boom. When I bust, I bust. But, there are some times where, don't work for an extended period because I can. And a lot of people can. But according to this, I wouldn't be able to have the permanent right to remain, which was not the condition I came here under.
Yes.
And that's people who are lucky to be employed. There are people who just came here to live with their partner or children. It hasn't clarified what's going to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the first thing you clarify, because it's not just single people. There's families. What's going to happen to them? And contrast this. So that was the UK offer, which effectively was the system we have now. Plus 2 years. The European Union's counteroffer was every single UK citizen living in the European Union gets a lifetime European passport that will give them European Union rights until the day they die. So freedom of movement into any country they go to, they get the benefits, etc. They get a lifetime. They said, they came, and then not just UK residents in the European Union. Any UK citizen who has ever been to Europe under freedom of movement will get a European passport for life.
Yeah.
Now that's an offer.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not. Frankly, and I can hear some murmurs going, hold on, we're kind of like pro Brexit. Yes.
Kind of pro Brexit,
and I'm not the European Union's greatest fan, and I can see why this is a great move for them, particularly after as a contrasting offer. But it's not about. It's about basic human decency. It's that social contract. You can't just invite people over, say them you can live here, and then go, oh sorry, no you can't. Yeah. That's just
it'd be like this one. I move over and you tell me, hey, I got a spare bedroom, stay in the spare bedroom, stay as long as you want to, no big deal, you figure it out, and then once you're established and you're ready, good to go, we'll figure it out from there, no big deal. And then I get over, I quit my job, I do this, I find a job here, get settled in, and then I come home on a Tuesday and you go, oh, hey, dude, you need to be out by Saturday. But, dude, you could say, yeah, yeah, so Saturday, could you get your shit out and be gone?
It's not even that, because that's a friendship thing.
But
it's
social
mean. It's a social contract. It's
exactly.
fucking mean. but this is it's like buying one of those 150-year leaseholds.
Yeah.
When you buy a house and you are guaranteed to live there for 150 years and you pay some nominal rent type thing, you buy one of those for a lot of money. You hire an interior decorator, you decorate it how you want, then there's some structural faults, so you call the structural people to unfault it. Shows how much I know about, home renovation. You get a gardener to garden, you get a plumber to plumb, you get an electrician to electrocute.
How the fuck you survive? I have no idea. You hire a family to, kind of family
inhabit it. Those sorts of, you make it your home. And then council says, we're taking that home. And you go, what? You can't. I've got a contract. Yeah, we changed the law so that the contract's no longer valid. It's our home now. Do I get a refund? No, you get to keep the family though. Get the fuck out with them. I mean, that's the equivalent. I mean, it's just not very nice, and it's infuriating. And we had to stop because I hope you cut it out.
Yes.
We had to stop earlier because I got, as Nick said, my emotions got faster than my thoughts, and that's fair enough because it's infuriating. Not even for me, because look, frankly, I'll be all right. I've already had 2 offers of marriage in case things get bad, but I'll be fine. It's just that you don't toy with people like that.
No.
It's if this is some sort of sick, perverse negotiating strategy, then you're a twisted, sad little person. If this is your shine, you believe that this is a sign of your strength, that you're willing to negotiate, it's a sign of your weakness. That this is how low you have to stoop before you have something actually worth negotiating with. This is how precarious your position is. That you have to go sink this low.
See, this, personally, other than you, it also hits home as in Camilla's sister. She's only been here for a couple years. Her brother's been here for probably about 8 years. But, the biggest thing was Cam. Before I moved here, Cam went and did 3 months in Bermuda.
Yeah.
Still British territory. But now it's a matter of, she didn't actually live in the UK during that time. She'd already been here for 5 years or so before that, and then 5 years or so since then. But do they count that 3? She's been without work one time for there's no one says, okay, hey, this is how it is.
And honestly, I think we'll all be fine. Everyone will be fine. And I do think it's a negotiating strategy. But after 2 years of hearing everyone's guaranteed and then they come up with this, is everyone guaranteed? Is it again just empty words? And it's that uncertainty because it's not just uncertainty you yourself are uncertain. Say someone loses their job, or wants to quit their job, but wants to take a break to travel or whatever. They can't. Not until someone actually says you're fine. They can't do that. Employers are reluctant to hire people because of it. So it kind of just puts your life on hold.
It puts everyone's life on hold
until they get their act together. And the big thorn in the side is that the EU proposal is very popular and very generous on paper, but what it effectively means is that those UK residents in the EU and EU residents in the UK would technically fall under the jurisdiction of the European courts, which is something that the darkspawn that presides over our country, and I don't normally, I'm not even going to attack Trump. Because I still believe there's method to that madness. It might not be a very coherent or clear method, but I genuinely believe that whatever he's trying to do, he has a reason and he believes that it's the right thing to do.
It's for him to make money.
Yeah.
That's his only reason.
And that's very noble. It's not particularly noble, but it's
capitalistic.
It's Machiavellian. And that's fine. With Theresa May is, I think, and I've friends will attest to this, I've called her the most dangerous woman in politics for years now, and no one could understand why. But it's not because there are people who have callous policies.
Yes.
But generally they're for callous reasons. No one actually believes what they're doing. It's a means of getting to power. It's a game. Same with people who have popular policies. That's why people disengage with politics. It was just, frankly, House of Cards became more fun, so people just stopped caring about the amateur version of it. Fringe. With Theresa May, all her things about censoring the internet, about immigration being more important than economy, about this whole, there are no what are you talking about? There are no disagreements in Great Britain. We're all united. This level of delusion isn't. You can tell that it's not because she has some overriding purpose. She genuinely believes it. It's her ideology. And I don't mind if you have the wrong politics for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, okay.
It's when you have the wrong politics for what you believe are the right reasons is when you become dangerous, because then you become a demagogue, then you become an ideologue, then you start placing your own perverted vision of what life should be and don't accept criticism, don't accept feedback. And her prime ministerial tenure shows all the hallmark signs of someone who's just not willing to accept criticism, who is right and who's faced with evidence and then says the evidence is wrong.
Well, that's Donald Trump as well, and he's not political minded. The best clip that I had seen from just after the election, the special just report, was they had met up with Donald Tusk, the president of the European Union, and just after the debacle that was the snap election took place, and he was asked, how do you feel now about the Brexit negotiations? And Donald Tusk, he's Polish, from Gdansk, speaks pretty good damn English, understands English flawless. It's not like one of those things where he would have needed an interpreter.
Yeah.
He was sitting back and they asked him and he smiled, and it was one of those smiles like a shit-eaten grin. Yeah. And there's a gif of him just going from a typical Polish just no smile to this big just happy, like somebody just put something he really wanted right in front of him. And I've seen that gif now making its way all around, especially when Tusk was speaking during the Brexit negotiations on Friday, I believe, and he was speaking about the proposal that the EU wanted to give. And it's just... Someone who's spent a lot of time in Poland, I've spent a lot of time there, and you'll know that Polish people on the streets are not a happy people. They don't smile. In the houses, they smile. When you're with your family and it's a gathering, everyone's smiling, everyone's happy. But if you're on the street and if you see somebody smile, it's scary because you don't know what the fuck they're doing.
They're either foreign or mentally ill.
Exactly. So there's that. You have
a Polish smile is a lack of a fist punching you.
So to see him in a very public setting and someone who never shows emotion, he's not like Macron's always happy. Yeah. He's always smiling, and he's like, the French elections came up and everybody said, well, Macron's not going to be able to do shit because he has nobody in Parliament, and then all of a sudden it's a fucking landslide and it's all his people now in Parliament. Like this whole...
Yeah, I mean, Macron is basically living in a permanent loop of that I got power song.
It's one of those things where it just goes... yeah, I'm having a good day. Yeah, I'm having a good week. Yeah, I'm having a good month. Like, it's a constant flow of he's just doing. And Tusk just had this this joy that was so nice to actually see upon a Polish leader's face, which is something you don't see often.
Which, it shouldn't... Again, I wish that... I can see why they would smile, but I wish they would kind of just... To quote my favourite hemorrhoid, get on with the job of delivering Brexit. I'm sorry, I've just lost all respect for that woman.
Well, there was an interesting... interview with everyone's favorite drunken pub goer, Boris Johnson, that took place in front of Parliament, and I was watching it live. I happened to be watching on the iPlayer for the BBC News, and constant yelling at him through the entire thing. And finally, even Boris Johnson, the one that basically you could walk up to him and say he smells like a dead fish that somebody shit on, and he'd just be like, and then walk away. He actually walked away. He was done. He couldn't handle it anymore.
No, I mean, you have YouGov, who are one of the two polling companies that predicted the election correctly. So they're now, their latest poll is showing that Jeremy Corbyn would be more popular as Prime Minister than Theresa May. He's on 36%, she's on 34-35%. Which has never happened before. Yeah. Now, Jeremy Corbyn, a few months ago, his popularity rating was something like minus 46.
Yeah, he was hated.
This is a guy who was seen as a dangerous, behind the times, Marxist-Leninist, to the point, and frankly, if you're calling Jeremy Corbyn hard left, I mean, come on. Until Jeremy Corbyn rides down, Parliament Square with a tank and starts shooting live rounds at the establishment, and then starts, rolls into a bank, opens the vault and starts handing it out to the poor and saying this is the death of money.
Yeah.
Jeremy Corbyn's not hard left. I mean, I don't see Jeremy Corbyn calling for the abolition of state, of the for the abolition of money. Anyway, but that's what he was seen like, to the point where Theresa May, in one of her election, that I probably should know because it only happened about 3 times, when she was speaking, taking questions during the election campaign, she said, remember, only 6 fewer seats for me could mean Jeremy Corbyn in power. And that was meant to sound as a threat. But apparently what the people heard was, oh really? Is that all? Oh,
that's it?
Hell yeah.
Cottonberry, Kensington and Chelsea, did you hear that? Let's go. Come on, tut, over here. Come to the left.
Yeah.
No need to stay on the right. It'll be okay. Just come over here to the left. We'll get rid of the old bag. It'll be nice. Come. Hurry.
Speaking of Kensington and Chelsea,
see, there is a bit. Okay, since September 11th, 2001, I have always said structural damage to a building like that, especially an extended fire.
We're no longer talking about the Conservative election campaign. We're now back to Grenfell Tower. Everyone's. Just if you had enough grim stuff in politics, why not just grim stuff in real life? I mean,
I get a message Friday morning. Hey, what kind of refrigerator do you have? And I go, I don't know. Oh, well, if you have a Hotpoint, you might want to move it out of the house, or Lily will be burning up pretty quick. To which I had to when I came home, check to make sure I didn't have a Hotpoint. Although at the work that I'm only at for another week, we can do investments where you sell or buy stock in the trading game.
Yeah.
And I fucking sold Whirlpool, and I made a fortune.
So that's also Whirlpool either?
No, that's not a Whirlpool. It's too generic to be a Whirlpool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Good.
Well, if it was, I'd get a new refrigerator out of it, so it'd be nice.
Talk about anti-product placement, but yeah, if you have a Hotpoint,
they have a specific model. I'll leave it in the show notes for the show. Yeah, you might want to reach out to Whirlpool because they want to talk to you very, very bad.
Yeah, unless you like the smell of a fried flat.
Yes,
because that's the one that started Grenfell. Now, the interesting thing about Grenfell, there's been a lot about cladding, and because the fire spread through the outside of the building. The building itself structurally was meant to contain any fire within a single flat, within a single unit, but because of the they've basically this is the problem, because of the education cuts in the United Kingdom. The story of the three pigs, they can no longer afford it, so people don't realise the dangers of coating your house in straw, particularly if it's a tower block, which is pretty much what happened in this case. So the fire spread from the contained flat and around the building. And now the straw is called cladding. That's the sort of outside bit of the building, and basically because it was flammable, it was combustible, it went through. It wasn't meant to be. Now, I've done a little bit of research, why on earth, if because the difference between putting non-flammable cladding and the flammable cladding onto that building would have been £5,000, to which people rightfully said, are you cheapskates? And people are accusing them of endangering people's lives. It wasn't quite the reason. Yes, it was only £5,000, and the other one was non-flammable. The reason why they went with the other one, it was twice as good at thermal insulation than the non-flammable one. Mm-hmm. So they thought the savings in the fire risk was low enough to justify the savings, not in terms of the £5,000, which is nothing,
but to the people that live there, as far as heat costs,
etc. It was better at insulation. That's why they chose the cladding. However, what emerged over the past few days is they've obviously the cladding that was used in other tower blocks before, so they took samples down and administered fire tests. Of the 37 tower blocks tested so far, guess how many failed the fire safety test?
I have no idea.
37.
Oh, Jesus.
All of them. Every single block that they've tested so far has failed fire tests, which has led to the evacuation of 4 out of 5 towers using that cladding in Camden.
Yeah, I saw about that one.
Which is a big clusterfuck because they're hastily trying to house these people, etc. Which speaks of a much larger problem, because my worry was that no one would have been responsible for this. Because as long as this cladding adhered to the regulations, it's nobody's fault. Mm-hmm. Because both the manufacturer and the contractor putting the cladding up, they would have used cladding that's legal. Mm-hmm. So if you use something that's legal, you should blame the politicians for not making it illegal.
Yes.
However, if this cladding is genuinely failing these fire safety tests, then someone made a boo-boo at some point. Now, where that fault lies, police have open manslaughter investigation. This is the tricky one, because the contractor has issued a statement saying, well, we believe we fulfilled the regulations, and anyway, the council has to sign off on anything we put up. Mm-hmm. Council has said we'll sign off because we expected it to be adhering, in accordance with the regulations. So it's tit for tat. Who is at fault? The council, who was technically responsible for it because they signed it off. They were technically responsible for ensuring that it fits the regulations, or is it the fault of the contractor who put up illegal material?
Yeah.
Frankly, my opinion at this point is, why do you argue, friends? You're both wrong and you're both at fault. But yeah, by the looks of it, it looks like there is actually somebody who made a massive cock up there.
Yeah, it was a horrific incident. We laughed and joked about the whole Hotpoint thing, but a lot of people did pass away, and in no way do we want to come across as not feeling for the victims. I know our personal friend had people that were evacuated from Camden. Edwin. He had posted on Facebook, "Hey, friends and family, if you guys are being evacuated, the hotels are raising rates, so give me a holler. We'll find some place for you to be." Like, he went. I saw the posting on Facebook, so it did affect a lot of people, and it's sad because here is a tower, and I'm going to get back to the conspiracy theory, but here was a tower that burned for hours upon hours upon hours. And, it never fell. It wavered. There were times that it looked to bend, but it never collapsed. And seeing the tower engulfed just made me think, wow, fire-wise it was shitty, but how come that engineer couldn't have been around for Tower 1 and Tower 2?
They're also steel, though, not concrete, weren't they?
Exactly. You would have thought that concrete would have ended up. London is a lot windier than New York. You'd imagine that those gusts of wind that we've had since might have pushed that skeleton over, and yet it hasn't.
So, who would you blame in this case? Aliens or the people who faked the moon landing?
Come on, I blame Cheney. He's part of it. Or the global conspiracist government. I don't know. I'll have to check with Alex Jones to see if who blames, because, well, when it comes down to it, Alex Jones is all about everything unless it's Trump related, and then Trump is God. Interesting thing came through the news the other day, and it hit me personally because it's something that I have for the longest time railed against. As a child, I never wore shoes. And I was a kid. I liked to be barefoot. I walk around the street, did everything else. Mm-hmm. I was never OCD about having to wash my hands constantly, because my thought process, even as a young child, was, well, if there's bacteria or something like that, or germs, my body needs to learn how to fight them, so washing them off just makes me weaker instead of stronger and makes me more susceptible. Mm-hmm. Antibacterial soaps might do more harm than good, scientists warn.
Of course, that's been the case for years.
Antibacterial soaps get more useless and may cause harm, 200 scientists and medics warn. The consensus statement published in the Scientific Journal for Environmental Health Perspective also cautions against the antimicrobial agents in food storage containers, exercise mats, and paints. Environmental health professors said plain soap and water the best way to protect against illness. Last year, America banned 19 different antimicrobial chemicals, including 2 that I can't say, saying they were not effective and should not be marketed and used in over-the-counter consumer washes.
Hold on, before we get accused, you can't say them because you can't pronounce them, or you can't say them because you're a shill?
Oh, no, because I can't pronounce them.
Okay.
Triclosan and triclocarban. If I mispronounce them, then I get an email, and I don't want to deal with it, so I just go over here. British firms such as Unilever say they are phasing out the 2 chemicals from their products by the end of this year, adding they will be replaced by a range of alternatives, including natural and nature-inspired antibacterial ingredients. It's the whole yoga mat thing, I think, is the best. There's now an underwear out there that doesn't sponsor us, and I won't mention them because they don't sponsor us, so fuck them, that say that they have antimicrobial underwear, so that your swamp ass and your ball sweat, it's okay because the underwear itself will take care of it. You were looking at me like this is something you want. Do you want to be sponsored by them? Because you want some free ads?
No, it just seems counter. It's my favorite thing when I take off my underwear in the evening, is to get the whiff of the day that I've just lived. You know, it reminds me of all the things that I've been up to.
Is there anything going on in the news? Please, I want to get that image out of my head.
Well, in all fairness, yes, if you're using antibacterial soap, please don't. In fact, the best soap to use is baby soap.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, in terms of news, let's see. There are a few oddities. Now, which state? Oh, this was in New Zealand. There's a bit of a scandal as parents have realised they've been accidentally feeding their kids dog food. Because a popular supermarket brand, they have their pet food section next to the sort of snack section, and this particular dog food had Scooby-Doo on the cover, and so kids obviously were pointing at it, going, "Yeah, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo," as kids do. Unless you've learned how to pacify a kid, maybe put a gag in his sock in their mouth or something, but I don't know what the parenting rules are in New Zealand. So you just to shut them up, you get them that bag, and then they eat. You give it to them to send them to school, and turns out it's not very nice. And I was quite surprised because I was wondering what dog food tastes like, but apparently both the kids and the parents said they're not fans. But that one is too depressing. We've had it depressing enough today. The Temelín nuclear power plant in the Czech Republic, which I believe is Czech Republic's only nuclear power plant, has been hiring new interns.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And to hire their new interns, they thought it'd be, because look, frankly, nuclear industry reputation is going to be it's a lot of nerds. Mm-hmm. And it's dangerous, so they're trying to make it a bit more exciting. And as companies do these days, they've reached out to social media, etc. So they've basically thought it would be neat little idea to have fans on social media. I'm not quite sure who likes a nuclear power plant on Facebook, but clearly there are people. They've decided that they will let their fans choose the interns through a bikini contest where they posted pictures of the intern candidates in bikinis, and and Nick immediately is looking it up, and fans on Facebook can pick their favourite intern, and Nick is currently picking his favourite intern.
I will leave a link possibly in the show notes. Radka Abananova.
Even has my name. Yeah, she looks skilled.
Yeah, I think with those gold shoes, she'd fit right in on a nuclear power plant.
I don't think.
Don't mind the dead air, guys.
No, we were just reading the CVs.
I'm going through each of the CVs now.
No, and surprisingly enough, this did not go down very well with half of the population on the planet, and competition for this week. You have two choices. It's who. Actually, no. We're not going to make it that easy.
Okay.
Which half? How would you describe the half of the planet that found this competition? Actually, it's probably more than a half because there's. But okay. Let's put it this way. A few billion people might have found this advertisement a bit offensive and as objectifying half of the population. If you give us the correct one-word name of this half of the population and email it to us, you will win a very special prize. We'll obviously pick you from the hat, etc. And whoever wins is going to win a very special prize, which is the air of obviousness. For the rest of the week, you will walk around trailed by an air of obviousness. But yeah, turns out that wasn't a particularly great marketing strategy. Then again, everyone's talking about Czech Nuclear Power, so...
In a way, they always say, I work in marketing and there's no such thing as bad publicity. No matter what it is that you say or do, whether it can be negatively or positively impacting your business, it will drive traffic to it. There's a large percentage of the population that boasts the capitalism will take care of those who don't do it. If you don't like a particular company or their tone of voice or the products that they produce, you can make the choice not to buy them, but it's nuclear power, so you really have no fucking choice.
I'm going to switch off electricity. And all fairness, they have since apologized for perhaps not prioritizing. I don't know. I mean, look, I can... You have a marketing agency or a sales department. Even then, if you hire by looks. But I can see why looks... It's a bit distasteful, but I can see why looks play a role in that. If I have someone controlling my nuclear power plant, the last thing I'm going to ask, are they good looking when they're,
These are interns, though, and I guarantee it was just a bunch of pervy dudes that were like, you know what, let's just do something different.
Yeah, and yeah, they since apologized, and as a gesture of goodwill and atonement, they have offered internship to all the
bikini-clad women,
and it was only girls.
Yeah,
and I assume that they're going to turn the aircon right up as they start their internships. And finally, the most shocking story. And frankly, I was choosing between my rants this week. And I wasn't quite sure, am I going to rant about this whole deportation, etc., or a youth Brexit thing, or am I going to rant about this one? When, in the end, the Brexit thing came up, so I ranted about that one. Trader Joe's. And what the fuck what kind of a name is that, anyway?
Trader Joe's is, if you think Whole Foods... It's the same kind of thing. It's very hip. It's very niche. It's very vegan and healthy. If you want to go somewhere and pay, say, $45 for a... $45 for some outlandish bullshit yogurt, you can go there.
Right.
So they're very pretentious.
Right. So Trader Joe's have invented a new product. They call a puff dog. And the best way to describe this product is it's a sausage with a sheet of pastry rolled around it.
So a sausage roll?
No, because a sausage roll is a sausage with a sheet of pastry rolled around it that wasn't recently invented by Trader Joe's. And Los Angeles, and I'm taking this from the BBC News website, which the Los Angeles-based lifestyle website, Hello Giggles. I don't know. You tell me if that's something that's someone called it genius. I mean, I'm not going to rant. I'll just Trader Joe's have invented the sausage roll
in 2017,
and there's nothing wrong with reinventing something. Bob Dylan does it all the time, but they even gave it a shittier name. What's a puff dog? I thought that was a rapper. Why would you call a sausage roll after a rapper?
That maybe Puff Dog bought into it.
Anyway.
Cool, send me the link to that.
Right, Nick, take us down Murder Avenue. Oh, what sort of... Cheer us up with some sort of... homicidal maniac.
This week we go to Missoula, Montana.
Okay, I thought we were going somewhere exotic, and then you put the Montana at the end of it.
Well, Missoula, Montana. If you think of Montana, think of a state that's about the size of square meters of Montana. I should have actually looked this up because I was thinking. So, the state of Montana is roughly 423 billion. The true state, Montana measures in at 380 billion, 830 million, 70,000 square meters in total area. So, it's a big, huge fucking state with a population of a population that's equal to, say, Brighton? Nah. Canterbury? Where was it that you were at?
Margate.
Okay, well, the entire state population is roughly 1 million.
State.
The entire state. So it's that fucking big. 300 odd billion meters square. 300 billion meters. And there's 1 million people living there. So there's not a lot of fucking people. There's a lot of open space.
This sounds like paradise.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I pulled it, because I figured you would love it. Now,
how do you, I mean, honestly, if you even want to murder someone, that's basically the whole state is a big game of hide and seek.
Well, it's more of like a game of hunting. If you go hunting for people, Montana is the place to go, because they might be. You don't know where they're going to be.
Is that not how you play hide and seek?
No, you don't play hide and seek with guns.
It makes it a bit more. Makes the hiding a lot more important. Motivates the kids.
Wayne Nathan Nance, killed during the 1970s and 1980s. He believed to have killed 6 victims in Missoula.
Oh.
Now, most of his youth, just because it was Montana, and I don't think anybody really cared about it, so I read through multiple different articles to try to find about who he was as a person.
Yeah, because normally you start off with, his diaper size was 5.
Yes, and no matter where you go to, he wasn't one of those guys that stood out. There's a reason why, though, Wayne Nance, the Missoula Mauler, why he's infamous, so to speak. So he always killed in pairs.
As in with someone or 2 people?
2 people.
As in couples or?
Yeah, sometimes couples, sometimes 2 women.
2 men?
What?
2 men?
No, just a man and a woman.
So we're all right.
Yeah, we're okay here. He'd break into houses, steal items, and then, in the process, murder the people and everything else. This is going to be a truncated version, and there's a main reason why it's truncated.
We like our listeners.
On September 3rd, 1986, Nance went to the home of Chris and Doug Wells in Missoula. Nance worked for Doug Wells as a furniture delivery worker. After asking Doug Wells for a flashlight, Ned was led into the house where he knocked Doug unconscious and forced Chris to tie her husband up. Nance tied Chris Wells to a bed and went downstairs, where he beat and stabbed Doug with an 8-inch knife. Believing Doug would die of the stab wounds, Nance went back upstairs. Doug, the guy that just got stabbed,
was miserable?
Yeah, pretty much. And he was the kind of person that if you come into my house, you hit me with a flashlight, you stab me, and then you go upstairs to do something to my wife, I'm probably not going to be a happy camper.
It is, in all fairness, it is testing hospitality.
And Mr. Wells, because I would probably refer to him as Mr. Wells if I was in his house, escaped from the bindings. It being Montana, went and retrieved his own rifle and went upstairs to go hunting, where he was met by Nance. Wells shot Nance in the side before Nance could retrieve his own gun from nearby. After firing 3 rounds, Nance was struck in the head by Wells's rifle. Wells then, Mr. Wells believes in poetic justice. Okay. So, Mr. Wells set down his own rifle. He had just hit Mr. Nance in the head with it. Picked up Mr. Nance's pistol, pointed it at Mr. Nance's face, and pulled the trigger. Thus ending Mr. Nance's wild, crazy journey on this planet. Lesson to all of those out there listening, whether you be in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Missoula, Montana, Alabama, Southern California, Poland, Australia, Singapore, the Philippines, Canada, if you're going to go in someone's house and you think you want to cause mayhem, kill the dude who's crazy enough to get fucking stabbed and shot and still get up.
Basically, if you're in someone's house and you've reached that socially awkward stage where you kind of just want to leave and you don't quite know how to do it, there's 2 ways of doing it.
Okay.
One is making up an excuse and leaving.
Yes.
But I admit, not all of us are good liars, and and some people don't want to lie anyway, and obviously you can't say I'm actually not having a good time, I want to go home. So you have to pretty much make an excuse, but not everyone can do it. So there's the other option,
okay,
which is to murder your host and make sure they're dead. And
make sure they're dead.
Yeah, make sure they're dead. They have to be not alive anymore for the future, because then
you won't be invited anywhere anymore. You'll be called names because, well,
you might not get invited, but perhaps for the better if your conflict resolution is murdering your hosts and their family. But make sure they're dead, and then you can leave without having to lie.
Yes.
Both of those, well, one is legal, one isn't. Both of those get you out, and that might be another contest. But both of those get you out of that situation. Anything in between does not work. It's been shown not to work, and as the story illustrates, it doesn't. If you leave, fine, I can see it. I'm bored, I'm going to shoot my host and tie the wife to the bed. It sounds good in your head, but it doesn't work. Unless you kill them, they will be upset, and you don't want to upset people. That's why I didn't lie to them in the first. That's why I didn't say I don't want to be here anymore. So, one or the other, preferably the one where you make an excuse.
I'm sure there's an app out there that you can download for your smartphone that excuse to get you out of any situation. I'm sure somebody's done that, and you can just plug it in there. If they haven't, copyright JSBS podcast, June 25th, 2017.
Third option, which is probably the best option if you can't lie again. This is only if you can't lie and your other option is murder, is cyanide pill.
Take yourself out?
Yeah, you die. That's unfortunate. But then again, if you're feeling so strongly about not lying that
you want to take option B,
you're contemplating murder, perhaps it is the kinder option. And with cyanide, it also not only does it get you out of that situation, but it also teaches something to the hosts, where whether the husband cooked or the wife cooked or they cooked together, one can turn to the other and say, maybe we shouldn't have people around anymore because our food kind of kills them.
I'm tempted now to check to see whether or not you have cyanide tablets on your person now in order to try to figure out a way to get out of going out after the broadcast.
Oh no! I've planned it, so we are going out. But it's one of my. I have two big fantasies in life.
Oh Lord,
daydreams.
Oh God, this children, cover your ears.
One is to have a really tiny invisible air gun. So I can just say, when I'm on the top deck of a bus and I see people walking on a busy street, 3 people abreast, because they're chatting, but no one can pass them, just shoot them. And they would turn around, what's going on, they wouldn't know. But I'll shoot them as long as they're walking 3 abreast, and then they'll realise, and then they'll walk like humans, like normal, polite humans. And just correct injustices like that. That's my one fantasy.
Okay.
And my other...
It's not actually that bad.
And my other fantasy is I wish people had 9 lives. So, because I am of the kind where it's difficult for me to form that line, as we were talking about, to get out of the social... sometimes I'm talking to someone, and I'm sure people have had this. I'm sure you've had it as well. You're talking to someone, and you're just so fucking bored. But you like the person. You don't... It could be someone at work, someone you really like, but you have nothing in common. And they just talk at you. And you want to go, I don't want to hurt your feelings. You don't even have to like them, you might not even want to hurt their feelings. But you just kind of want to tell them how fucking boring they are. And I can say fucking because the kids aren't listening, because you tell them to stop listening.
Yes.
And I don't want to murder them. And I don't want to tell them you're fucking boring. And I've run out of excuses because all my relatives are dead at this point, if this happens. So I just want a nice little clean way of telling them you're so fucking... I'm in the middle of talking to someone, say you're talking to me, and I can just go, sorry mate, and just run to the window and smash through it and fall down 10 stories and kill myself to make my point, but then stand up because I have 8 more lives. And that's what I'd like to do sometimes. And I divide my 9 lives into 3 for accidental deaths that I didn't mean to die, 3 to make a point, and 3 for humorous effect. Because sometimes it's just,
2 for humorous effects.
Well, 3. Oh.
You can only die 9 times.
Yeah.
So 3 for accidental.
Yeah.
3 for teaching a lesson.
Yeah.
2 for humorous, because then the last one you're done.
No, my final death is going to be humorous.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's fine. I thought you were going to save that one to actually die of natural causes.
No, once I've made my points with the medium 3, then... Yeah.
Then you're just fair game to do whatever.
I'm just
then let's just make this the most humorous way possible.
Yeah.
You want to be infamous and viral?
No. I just honestly, my favorite things in life where I just quietly chuckle to myself. So I want to die in a way
to where you quietly
where
chuckle.
I would quietly chuckle to myself.
All right.
Send us your humorous ways to die.
You can find us on Twitter at JSBSPod. That's facebook.com/JSBSPod. We're on Instagram, JSBSPod. You can find our little section of the interweb at jsbspod.com. You can give us money at patreon.com/JSBSPod. If you want to just send in a PayPal donation because, well, you don't want to sign up to the whole Patreon debacle, you can send that to jsbspod@gmail.com. You can also send in all of your complaints, your Shetland pony photos, and your show ideas to jsbspod@gmail.com. Now, with holiday season in full effect, we're coming out of the hottest weekend in British history since 1985, I believe. So we go to our favorite segment of the podcast, Where in the World Should I Book My Holiday Next? And for that, we turn to our tour guide extraordinaire. If he worked for a hospitality company, he would be their number one seller. Master Radovan, where in the world are we going this week?
What if and I'm going to do this slightly in a slightly unorthodox way, where I'm going to actually tell you the news before I tell you the country.
Okay.
It's going to be a short one because I just didn't want to depress myself anymore.
Okay.
What if I told you
that
there is a place of spectacular natural beauty, spanning mountains, plateaus, seas, forests, with spectacular wildlife, natural resource reserves, former Soviet Republic, democratic.
Okay.
So democratic that since their independence in 1993, they've had two presidents.
Oh.
Father and son.
Oh. Okay.
Are
the father and son in some way like oil tycoons?
They're multi-talented individuals.
Okay.
They have their fingers in many pies, which helps that, purely metaphorically speaking, they seem to be the only people in this country to have fingers.
Okay.
They're one of their biggest trade partners is the Bastion of Freedom, the role model for all of Europe's aspirations, Belarus.
Ah, yes.
They are going to attend a peace summit very soon.
Yep.
To promote peace in their region. There's 3 parties attending this peace conference.
Yeah, because they don't get along with their neighbor very much, do they?
No, there's 3 parties attending this peace conference.
Yeah.
As Iran, Russia, and
them,
our destination.
Yes.
Yeah, they have a bit of a... We've mentioned them in the previous installment, where they have a bit of a tit for tat
with their neighbor.
If tit means 100 people dying per evening.
Yeah.
With their
they have amazing Greco and freestyle wrestling team.
Now you're getting warm.
Yeah,
you're getting warm.
They're one of the few countries with a Z in their name.
Yeah, their national bank is $3.4 billion in debt.
It's deficit spending.
Their currency has devalued by half over the past 2 years.
Sounds kind of like the pound after Brexit talks.
Some of the recent news include well, this isn't actually news in this country. It's news outside of it because there's an embargo on this story within the country. It's not allowed to be reported.
Okay.
Is that 3, and I can say this to give people a bit more of a hint, because I'm sure a lot of you are getting closer. 3 Armenian spies were discovered in their military, and they were captured.
Yeah.
And they were in custody for interrogation. And none of that ever happened. What Armenian spies? What are you talking about? They disappeared.
They slipped and fell on bananas.
They slipped and fell on bananas, and
yes.
they were hastily sent to their families for burial.
Yes.
No one was allowed to attend the burials.
Yes.
The families weren't allowed to see the bodies.
Yes.
And this isn't allowed to be reported.
It's really not a story.
It's
this one right here.
What we were talking. What are we talking about?
Exactly.
We're talking about nothing. Another something that didn't happen is a journalist from this country called Afghan Mukhtarli, who was, one would say, an opposition journalist. He was opposed to the government, at least that's what we would say, if he existed. So he famously declared he is leaving country and he's moving to Georgia, and he said he never wants to come to country again. So lo and behold, it's quite surprising where his wife reports him missing one evening in Georgia, but he wasn't missing. He was illegally trying to smuggle foreign currency into said country, where he was bravely discovered by the border guards, and he now is in custody in the capital. I guess up until the point where this story hasn't happened. Yeah. But it's all well and good because this country has had a Formula One race just now.
I was going to say,
and everyone is happy, which is why I ended on this one, because when I looked up country news, it was all just Formula One and none of the other stuff. Which, in fairness, none of the other stuff ever happened.
We'll just ask the president; he'll tell you.
So basically, this is a country that has Formula One. So, you know, if you're in that, again, awkward social situation where you don't know whether to make an excuse or murder your host or commit suicide, why don't you just surprise your host with a package holiday to Azerbaijan, and make sure that in their bags you pack big American-style baseball caps with a giant sign that says, "I heart Armenia."
Well, if you go to Google and you put in Azerbaijan, they'll give you an overview, like, you know, Google does, that gives you kind of a breakdown of, you know, the wiki page or whatever else. But and this might be the first time that I've done this for any of our wonderful places. They have a cute little travel guide. So you can hit a travel guide and you go, oh, look, Azerbaijan has got a really cool eye.
It's got a Ferris wheel surrounded by concrete blocks.
Yeah, and so there's all these cool places you can go. The top sites to see: Maiden Tower, the Palace of the Shavaz, Azerbaijan Carpet Museum. Haydar Aliyev Center.
Yeah, go there all the time.
The Gubistan National Park. Baku Museum of Modern Art. The Bay of Baku. The Taj Pir Mosque. Baku Museum of Miniature Books. The Old City. There's a beach club. Another mosque you can go to. There's an aqua park. There's a koala park. Karting. A castle. So, yeah, it's on the Mediterranean, and...
No, it's not.
Well, did it say... What does it say here? Caspian Sea and the Caucasus Mountains, which span Asia and Europe. So, yeah, if you've got... Okay, so as we say each week, you've got your 20 days annual leave coming up, and you're sitting with your family, and you're trying to think of where are you going to go. Beer Doctor, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would Azerbaijan rate on your scale of yes, I will go there, or no, I won't?
It depends on your purpose. Get rid of your family, 8.
Okay, let me preface it. Okay. You're an Armenian immigrant living in the UK, and your wife is French. Don't know why I chose French, but we'll just say French. And her co-worker, who is from Azerbaijan, has been selling her on the idea of going to Azerbaijan for holiday. Do you think your wife's trying to become single?
She's French. I
Yes.
mean, they're quite... Isn't it something like in 70% of French marriages, one partner cheats on the other?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she's trying to No, but it's a beautiful country. And I've been considering going there until I started reading about it. It's a beautiful country. It's definitely worth Googling.
This is one of the countries you can Google World it, enjoy it, and then plan your holiday for somewhere else.
Yeah, go to Georgia. Georgia's nice. But we better stay away from Azerbaijan. And I don't want to be sued. I don't want to end up in some holding cell in Baku. Azerbaijan is great, best country in the world. The strong and stable leadership.
The fear of the internet. Now again, be sure to send any email, messages, comments, anything like that to jsbspod@gmail.com. Again, use that Twitter handle @JSBSPod, Instagram @JSBSPod, Facebook, facebook.com/JSBSPod. You can find us on Patreon to give us money, patreon.com/JSBSPod. And if you want to just send money via PayPal, you can do that as well, jsbspod@gmail.com. And now it is time for us to get out of here. I want to say rate and review the show, share it with a friend, and get involved in politics in your area. If the Corbyn movement and the Macron movement and all these other movements have taught us anything, it's you can start your own party, or you can reinvent yourself.
Unless you're in Azerbaijan.
You can do whatever it is that you can do to be a part of it. But
unless you're in Azerbaijan.
But the change does start with you, so get active.
Unless you're in Azerbaijan.
Be a part of the solution, not the problem.
Unless you're in Azerbaijan.
And reach out to your local MPs or your congressmen or congresswomen. We didn't bring up Trump Care because, well, along with the rest of the entire world, nobody knows what the fuck it is or how it's going to affect anyone ever.
Although your fantastic single payer in California got shot down by a majority Democratic Congress.
Yeah,
it's the state Senate anyway.
Yeah, well, it's not a majority Democrat. It was shot down because of cost. Look, America. You're at the cusp. You're on a turning point. Now is the time that you reach out to your representative, may they be Democrat, may they be Republican, and ask them how the Trump Care will affect you personally. It's your right to do so as a citizen, and it's important that you know how your life is going to be either adversely affected or happily taken care of with this new change in the system. Because if you don't ask the question and you don't ask for them to explain it to you, you're failing to do your due diligence on making sure that your employees are actually doing their job. Remember, politicians are nothing more than employees. They work for you. It is your right, it is your job, it is your duty to question them, to question how the actions they take affect you and affect your family. If you refuse to question them, you refuse to take the time to ask them, you are doomed to live in whichever type of society they choose for themselves and their friends. As they are your employees, they care about themselves and their friends. They don't care about you. Think about if you care about your boss. You don't, so you need to question them. Be a good boss. Be stern. Make them answer for their actions. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a rant, but I know that...
Is that what I sound like?
Reading through a lot of what has been now leaked, because they won't fucking release it to where you can see how bad it's going to be, just from what's been released from people like Ron Paul and that kind of thing, who have already said we will not vote for this because of what it does. Dan Healer, who is a Republican Republican senator, has said, I will not do it because it goes against things that are good for my constituents. I would love to know what that means. I worry about what it's going to do to my mother, what it's going to do to my brother, my nephews, that kind of thing. So question it. It's your job to do it. It's your duty to do it. Rant over. And that's roughly, I don't know, an hour and 35, 40 minutes of your life you're never gonna get back.
Toodles.
A man in a trench coat in the dark. A woman's lost a kid sleeping in the park. Rag suits, daggers, Park Avenue. Everybody wants to talk to you about just some BS of there. Just some BS. Just some BS of yours. Just some BS. Just some BS, yeah. Just some BS, yeah. Just some BS of ours.